declaring they found some, and now they basically, Scott has lost about 12 to 15,000 votes since Election Day, and Fox declared him the winner. Joining us now is Senator Lindsey Graham. We also know that Governor-elect DeSantis might not be Governor-elect DeSantis. They might be within the margin to have a recount there because we're finding votes. Senator Lindsey Graham has enough to worry about in South Carolina but can't get his eyes off Florida. Senator, welcome back to the Brian Kilmeade Show.
Yeah, welcome to the drama called Florida, right?
I mean, you heard Rubio. He can't believe it. Well, we're back in Broward County, a Democratic-leaning victory. District. Where do you go from here?
You go to court. You go to the press. You talk to Brian Kilmeade. These guys want to win at all costs. I mean, there's nothing. You could see what happened to Kavanaugh, right? So this county, this lady running the county, what's her name? Miss Snipes.
Yep.
Okay, well, she's the most kind thing you can say about her, she's completely incompetent. This happens over and over. Again, Marco said counties where they had a hurricane were able to do their job. So since the election, and there's a law in the books that you got to declare all the votes 30 minutes after the polls close so the universe of counting is known. But apparently in some schools, some teacher mysteriously found a box of ballots at a polling place in a school. This needs to stop. I talked to Rick Scott last night. They're all over this. His lead has been down to 15,000 since Election Day. They still won't tell you how many ballots they have. The law says within 30 minutes of the poll closing, you've got to identify all the ballots to be counted. So lawyers on the ground, Rick Scott's on top of it, and people in the media need to cover this for the shame it is.
Is Brenda Snipes, and Brenda Snipes is somebody in 2016 posted the election results before the polls were closed. Unbelievable. And then she was found to have been throwing ballots away. And yet she kept her job. Don't ask me in what scenario you keep your job after being caught doing this, but that's exactly what happened. But you have the governor and you have a congressman from Florida who's at stake. And the governor, Rick Scott, the acting governor, should be able to control at least an honest outcome, as Gillum now says, okay, maybe I didn't concede or I conceded too early. Senator Graham, we're looking at this election right now, and we're also looking at Arizona. You know Arizona well. John McCain, great friend of yours. Now, Martha McSally was leading up when I went to bed last night. She's now trailing by 9,000 votes, but they have over 100,000 yet to count. Do you have a sense of where that's going?
Yeah, it's not going well. It's like 400,000. Martha ran about 18 points behind Doug Ducey in some of the Republican strongholds. I don't know what's happening out there. I like Martha. She'd be a great senator. It's not over yet, but it's not going in the right direction. But the Florida thing is about the rule of law. We have laws on the books to protect elections. The laws on the books apparently don't apply in Broward and Palm Beach County. So how does this end? The rule of law comes in to save us yet again. What did they try to do to Kavanaugh? Take the rule of law, turn it upside down just to get an outcome. So in Broward County, the 30-minute rule has been interpreted to be like 3 days. So it's going to take some legal intervention here to get these Democratic-held strongholds to play by the law.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing we've learned in the last month is that when it comes to power, our Democratic friends on the other side, starting with Kavanaugh, will take half-baked allegations, uncorroborated allegations. Their friends in the media will make them to be absolutely credible when they're not. People come out of the woodwork making false claims. You don't know about it until the hearing is, to the debacle's over, that it was false to begin with. Now, here you're in Boat County. You've got a law in the books. All ballots have to be declared by 30 minutes after polls are closing. They're finding ballots 2 days after the polls closed. So the only way this is going to stop is shine some light on it and get the law to come to our aid.
All right, let's switch it over and talk about the new Attorney General. It is Matt Whitaker. and Matt Whitaker's the acting attorney general, and he's already acting. He's putting something on the books, an executive order that would say if you're an illegal alien and are going to come to this country and you're trying to sneak in, you don't have any access to becoming a green card member, and basically you can't stay. There might be a small provision in the executive order that they called it a spared from deportation by qualifying for a lesser status known as withholding of removal. But for the most part, if you cross after this executive order is signed, you cannot become a citizen. Is this constitutional to you?
Well, it probably goes against the way the statute is set up, but here's the problem. I'm glad he's doing something. We've had a 2,000% increase in asylum applications. People have figured out how to play the game. They show up at a border. They say, I'm under duress. I seek asylum. The process goes for a long time. They get into the country. Most of them never show up for their asylum hearing. They just, assimilate into the country. We need to stop that. Asylum seekers have a very limited way into the country. Economic distress, living in a bad place, corruption doesn't allow you to get asylum. Our asylum process has been abused, so I support the idea by executive order, hopefully eventually by statute, to change the process so people just can't show up on our door, they come into the country, and they never leave. That's got to stop.
Senator Joe Manchin weighed in last night on the firing of Attorney General Sessions, cut 11.
Are we approaching a constitutional crisis?
I think we're on the verge of that. I think it's a big mistake to let Jeff Sessions go. What raises my concerns is a person who's been so vocal against the investigation that was going on, now putting in charge a day after the election. I think that sheds bad light on it.
And the person in charge is his chief of staff, who's been very critical of Robert Mueller in the past and thinks he was overstepping his bounds and he had no right to things like Donald Trump's private financial information, which I think is obviously what I thought the scope was about. How do you feel about Joe Manchin thinking we're on a constitutional crisis?
Well, I think Joe Manchin is falling in line with Democrats when it comes to creating hysteria. Listen, there's no doubt in my mind that Mueller's going to be allowed to finish the investigation. I've seen no evidence of collusion. This thing is in its last stages. It should be done here pretty soon. Whitaker is not going to interfere. Congress is around, and that's not going to happen. Mr. Whitaker is fulfilling the job for 200-something days at the most. We'll get a new attorney general early next year. And Joe Manchin and Nancy Pelosi's world, Donald Trump doesn't have the rights of every other president. I have said after the election that he should pick a new attorney general if he wants one. He did. I've got as much confidence in Whitaker as I had in Holder and Lynch, to be fair. So Whitaker's not going to do anything crazy. We're going to get a new attorney general next year. Mueller will be allowed to do his job, and this is just hysteria created by the left that apparently Joe Manchin is buying into.
Senator, I tell you, Joe Manchin is really ticked off at the vice president in particular and this president. Do you think he lost a moderate voice?
I don't know. It'd be up to him. He's West Virginia's voice, and he won by 3 points. He was smart enough to vote for Kavanaugh. If he voted against Kavanaugh, he would have got wiped out. I like Joe, but he's just parroting the Democratic talking points here. We'll see what kind of voice Joe Manchin has for the people of West Virginia. During the campaign, he became Trump's best friend. We'll see if that was all campaign talk or whether or not he's going to walk the walk.
I don't think he's going to walk the walk. Okay, Pam Bondi and Chris Christie went to see the president yesterday. Speculation is they're going to interview for the attorney general job. Is it yours, Senator, if you want it?
No. I've talked to the president about the attorney general replacement. Pam, you got Trey Dowdy, you got a bunch of people, Chris Christie. There's a pretty long list of people that would be outstanding choices that could get confirmed. The president deserves an attorney general he has confidence in. He's going to pick a new one, and and they'll come through judiciary, and I intend to support them strongly as long as they're qualified, and the people you named are very qualified. It won't be me. I have zero interest in serving in the cabinet. I'm honored people mention my name, but I'm going to be the senior senator from South Carolina at least for 2 more years, and help the president wherever I can.
The President of the United States has another critic. It's Michelle Obama. Basically, in her new book, she was outraged the president used birther talk and basically called him a misogynist and was horrified that he was horrified that he was replacing her husband as president. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the American people do the replacing. We had a campaign. All this was litigated. President Trump's statements that he made from the time he was a child to the day we voted were scrutinized. The American people saw the Obama economy, saw our national security under President Obama, and felt that Hillary Clinton would be more of the same, and Donald Trump won. This was an election of change. Obama, if he had been the president they claim he was, Donald Trump would not have had a prayer. I like Michelle Obama. I respect her. But she has to accept the outcome of the election. The problem with Democrats is they just don't want to believe, can't believe, and won't recognize that Donald Trump won. And what the former First Lady is saying is in line with what they're doing. That he's not a legitimate president in spite of the fact that he won. He can't make appointments to the Supreme Court like everybody else. The election in Florida is a complete violation of the law because they're trying to deny people come up to help Trump. So the left is just in complete denial. President Trump's statements were scrutinized, and he was seen by the American people to be the agent of change that we needed.
Do you think, in a way, the midterm elections verified the election of 2016?
Yeah.
The fact that there was no blue wave, of course, the Democrats did make inroads, as history would reflect, but the president has 46% approval rating. Ronald Reagan had 42 after his first 2 years. Do you think people will stop to a degree, at least some on the fringes, of saying, the Russians gave him the election, Hillary was so bad, anybody would have won? Do you think after the 2 years and all the negativity and the hit books and maybe the mistakes the president has made and the tweets that he probably wants back and Charlottesville, he still has 46% of the people behind him, and the crowds are bigger and louder than ever?
Well, the results that he's achieved as president have been stunning almost, quite frankly, economically and national security-wise. We did poorly in the suburbs with women, and if you don't get that from this election, you're not really paying much attention as a Republican. That's mostly tone, not policy. The president, before the election, had some self-evaluation about tone. He's a fighter. He's a street fighter. That's a good thing. But he's also got to watch what he says because he's president. I think we can repair the damage with suburban women because the policies are good. Good economics, good national security. As to the left, there's an element that will never allow President Trump to be a normal president because they can't accept the fact he won. But Democrats are divided. There are a bunch of Democrats saying they won't vote for Pelosi because what they're doing is rejecting the resistance. There's a movement in the Democratic Party after the midterms to reject the resistance, and we'll see where it goes.
I hope it goes somewhere. I think most people outside what we do every day and talk about this are sick of the fighting. Real quick, the president has an opportunity to look back at 100 years since World War I, and he's going to be going to Paris to do it. He's about to take off. He'll be in the same building, the same room as Vladimir Putin. Would you encourage him and expect him to somehow meet with Vladimir Putin?
I don't care if he meets with Putin. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about. I just want him to understand what Putin's up to. He's killed people on foreign soil. He's just been with the Ukraine and Crimea. He has been the chief supporter of Assad. Just realize he's not your friend. president's foreign policy with ISIS is working. He's got a line in a box. He's got to stick with it in Afghanistan. He's turned Afghanistan around militarily. There have been 19 brave Americans killed in the last 15 months. God bless them. 5,700 Afghans have died in the last 15 months. So under Trump, it's the Afghans that are knocking on doors and going into the houses, bearing the brunt of the fight, and that's the way it should have been all along. So Trump has changed things where we're support the effort of the Afghans to take back their country. We're not knocking on doors; they are. So I just hope the president will understand that Putin's not anybody's friend when it comes to democracy.
Did you tell him?
Yeah.
Did he listen?
I think so. I think the president is nobody's fool. He's smart. He wants to have a relationship with Russia. But that exporting natural gas to Europe, which is Trump's plan, will do more to damage Russia's economy than any sanctions.
I hear you.
So if we can pull this off to send American natural gas over to Europe to eat into Putin's monopoly, that'd be the biggest change since the end of the Cold War.
And nothing changed with you, Senator. You're always a great guest. Thanks so much. Now your mission is have a good weekend. Exhale.
Thanks a bunch. Watch Florida.
All right. Go get him, Senator.
In Paris, G8, G20, global meeting of 20 top powers. So he's not running away. He's running toward the reporters. No, you're a fraud. Your question's stupid. You don't know what you're talking about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Defending his choice of Whitaker for the acting attorney general, addressing the issue of voter fraud and concerns about voter manipulation in Broward County. And these reporters, well, you going to fire Rod Rosenstein? Did you hear that? Do we have that cut? Oh, my God, hilarious. We'll play it for you in a second. All right. Let me just say this. I'm in a very good mood. Why am I in a good mood? Well, you should always be in a good mood. I'm in a very good mood. So I'm going to Alabama. You think they're going to beat Mississippi State this weekend, James? You think old Alabama's going to roll right over Mississippi State?
I don't think it's a question of if they're going to beat them. It's by how much are they going to beat them.
Well, it's going to be cold down there. I don't think I've ever been to a game where it's going to be this cold. I don't think. Not in Alabama, not in Tuscaloosa. I think it's going to be like, by the time the game ends, it's 3:30 Eastern time. You got to watch it, though. 3:30 Eastern time. So by the time the game ends, it could be in the 30s. You know I'm always cold. I'm always freezing. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's going to be fun. The kids are coming. James, do you think I'm going to be on the field pregame?
1,000% you'll be on the field pregame.
Absolutely, because when I'm on the field pregame, when I'm catching, I try to catch when they do the practice kicks. You don't realize how hard it is to catch those when they're kicked by someone with the force that those guys kick it. I got hit in the head last year at the national championship because I was talking and I was trying to catch it, but it hit me in the head. They come so fast. I thought, oh, no problem, I can catch it. No, I couldn't catch it. So I'm going to try to catch it. My goal is to catch one of the practice kicks on Saturday. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. Always love going to Tuscaloosa. You know, T-Town, as they call it. It's Victory Town. Tuscaloosa, it's so much fun. The people are great. It's Trump country, too. You go down there, you're not worried about anything down there. Let me say, Antifa shows up in Tuscaloosa. What do you think will happen to the old Antifa kids and the little 120-pound kids in their masks?
Well, and their skinny arms, too.
Oh, they're all skinny arms. What do you think the folks in Alabama will do to the Antifa crowd? That's not going to end well for Antifa. But we're going to play you in a moment comments from Attorney General Mukasey, a former Attorney General, former federal district court judge in New York, about what he thinks should be done given what happened to Tucker Carlson. Now, I'm going to take your calls on this. Tucker Carlson was greeted with Antifa protesters at his house. Can you pull my screen up so I can see my callers? This was the other night. His wife was in the back of the house. His kids were not there. His kids are older. So he gets word while he's getting ready for his show that these Antifa thugs are banging on his door, screaming, "We know where you sleep at night." Tucker Carlson, we're going to fight. We know where you sleep at night. Of course, they're so brave. Why are they hiding? If this is their constitutional right to terrorize people, why are they hiding? Why the masks? Let's see who you are. You know, I thought to myself, where are Tucker Carlson's neighbors? And why aren't they coming? You know, I always hear, you know, when I was growing up, my parents would say, in the old days, James, parts of New Jersey, how long would that Antifa last outside your house growing up?
Oh, gosh.
You know,
not
you think the neighbors would be coming out, giving a little message to those kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Not without a doubt. They don't put up with that kind of stuff.
No.
You're close with your neighbors, and, you know, you realize you have to live with these people, and everyone respects that.
Right. Yeah, here's what they said. Tucker Carlson were outside your home. One person could be heard saying, in the since-deleted video, the person using a bullhorn accused Carlson of promoting hate in an ideology that has led to thousands of people dying.